weeks, months, whatever, as we sort of go through this. But it looks like this incident might tear apart the Republican Party, and it's loosely affiliated or around a set of principles and a set of ideals. However, you have to sort of maintain some type of cohesiveness and some type of respect when you have, city mouse versus rural mouse. And it seems like the party could be over this ripping apart at the seams. One, the quote-unquote whisper campaign, and then two, the Catherine Hanaway or the Citizens to make fun of Tom Schweich ad in which they basically called him Barney Fife. There was a legislator on the floor of the Senate yesterday, Senator Mike Parson, who went on the floor of the Senate and said yesterday, he's a Republican. He said, in my opinion, Tom Schweich made a poor choice. However, if that choice was brought on in any way by the negative side of politics and people who were under fictitious committee names and mailboxes, all while making thousands and thousands of dollars, then shame on them. He goes on to say that he says that investigations show that these people are responsible. If investigations show these people are responsible, he says they should be held accountable. He said, it is personally my commitment that I will no longer stand by and let people destroy other people's lives using false accusations and demeaning statements, all in the name of money to win elections. I'm not going to do it anymore. He goes on to say, instead, we should start talking about how we are different from the opponent and being honest with the facts. Now, on one hand, it's kind of interesting that you have a state elected official standing up and demanding that there's truth in advertising, which if it wasn't so sad, it would be hysterical. And lots of people have talked about negative campaigning, and lots of people have talked about how money in politics is ruining America and ruling politics. But I guess the question I have is, where have we gone and where are we going as a society? And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that politicians should be any better than the rest of us, because the politicians are us. Somehow they like to portray themselves as being much more holier, much more responsible, much more moral, and by golly, trust me with your vote because I am a fine American. My opponent is a scumbag communist pinko. However, I am a fine, upstanding gentleman, and I will make sure that I will protect you and your way of life, while my opponent will destroy you and bring aliens from other planets to wreak havoc in every orifice of your body. Otherwise, go vote. And so those are ads today. I mean, look, clearly the ads have gotten out of hand. When citizens who are trying to poke fun at Tom Schweich is a committee out of Kansas City in which it's not affiliated with Catherine Hanaway's campaign, but Catherine Hanaway's treasurer used to be the treasurer there, and the man who's running the campaign over here is now running the campaign over there, and by golly, it just so happens that it's an ad in which making fun of Tom Schweich's stature and his uncoolness and his chicken neck, and clearly he's not cool enough to play with the cool kids, so he can't be governor, which I don't know what that ad says other than they're trying to poke fun and make fun of and try and get a rise out of Tom Schweich. Now, it's the worst part. It's not the worst part of politics. It's just the worst part of society. Now, recently, not in the world of politics, there's a man named Curt Schilling who used to play baseball. He's now on ESPN as an analyst. Curt Schilling was the one who was pitching for the Red Sox, who was in the World Series, and he had a tendon problem with his ankle. So much so that his tendon was bleeding through his sock during the game, and it was a big deal because they would zoom in on the blood on his sock while he was pitching, and he was this tough and gritty pitcher who, pitched through all of this pain and the bloody sock to then help the Red Sox win their World Series, and he was the toast of Boston. Well, this Curt Schilling is known to sort of tell you what he thinks. You like him, you dislike him. He's never shy about telling you what he thinks, and he has a blog. And the only reason why I'm bringing up this story is because, one, it's extremely relevant, it's extremely current, and it is so over-the-top offensive that it goes to show where are we going in this society when nameless, faceless people can say anything they want about anything, and where does the rest of society, what's the next awful thing that can be said? In politics, you have nameless, faceless people making just bullying other candidates for fun to either get a rise out of them, to poke them, to make them look bad. No basis in fact, no basis in reality, and basically just third-grade bullying. And it is the worst amongst human nature. So let's go to Curt Schilling here for just a second. His daughter recently, he quoted he sent out a tweet congratulating his daughter. His daughter. Congratulations, Gabby, who will pitch for the Salve Regina Seahawks next year. It's some team in which she was announced that she was going to play for. I don't know if it's a junior high team or a high school team or a college team or a NAIA team or whatever, but she's going to continue her softball, and a proud daddy sends out a tweet, congratulations, my daughter's moving on, she's playing softball at the next level, isn't this wonderful? Okay? Now, he goes on to say in this blog post that as soon as he said that, he started getting tweets saying things like, hey, can't wait to date your daughter. And, hey, what's her phone number? Or, hey, looking forward to partying with her. Okay? So, and as he says in his blog post, relatively innocent, innocuous, teasing me being in the spotlight, being a former pitcher, saying that about my daughter. And he's like, that's one thing. He then goes on to say and gives you an example of some of the other tweets that he got about his daughter. Now, this is his daughter, okay? And these are nameless, faceless tweets that he got sent to him from nameless, faceless people. And I must tell you that there is no way that I am able to tell you how graphic and despicable these tweets are. I can't begin to explain to you what some of these say. I will say to you, however, that it talks in graphic detail about every single orifice of his daughter. It talks about softball equipment being used to basically rape his daughter. It talks about his bloody sock and his daughter's menstrual cycle. These are just some of the responses that Curt Schilling got on Twitter from a simple tweet saying, congratulations, honey, I love you. You're moving on to play softball next year. Now, he goes on to talk about how he calls out these people, tracks them down, and talks about how awful this is. And says, look, say what you want about me, but it's my daughter who didn't do anything other than just choose to play softball. And why is she now resigned or have to deal with this vile out there? And so he goes in to talk about how bullying, right? And how if you think this is freedom of speech and they can do anything they want, chapter and verse of teenager after teenager after young adult that is somehow they've committed suicide, they've gone into deep depressions, they've had to leave school, they've had to change towns, they've had to move out of states because of bullying like this. And so how is that any different than the citizens to wreak havoc for Tom Schweich run an ad campaign in which they call him Barney Fife and make fun of his height and his weight and his stature and his quote-unquote wimpiness? How is that any different? And so we're electing politicians today, and money is going into politics. Basically, it's high-financed bullying is what it is. And so you have a man who stands up on the Senate floor and says, by golly, I'm not going to stand for this. I just wonder if a week from now, after the funeral, we go back to, because it's going to be, we're going to forget about this. Tom Schweich's going to become a punchline. Tom Schweich's going to be a whisper campaign. Tom Schweich is going to be, Tom Schweich, too bad. But how about this ad? That's terrible. Oh, that's funny. Oh, they're really making fun of that guy. Oh, my goodness, that girl's in. Right? And so all we're doing now, we yell at our children who bully other children, but yet we give money to politicians so that they can then bully other politicians who are not on our team. 314-969-KTRS, 1-888-550-KTRS, or star KTRS. How is it any different, those despicable human beings who talked about raping Curt Schilling's daughter, how is that any different than what that political ad did to Tom Schweich? 314-969-KTRS, 1-888-550-KTRS, or star KTRS. Those are the phone numbers. Back in a moment. Big 550.